Hey guys, it is Clevenator7 here, back again with another YouTube video, and today we are going to be doing something rather interesting for Wildcard Thursday. I mean, this might come up on Friday, I don't know how long this will take, but I've been working on this for a while, and yeah, most of you probably know about this, but here it is. This is the
Ultimate Sandwich Tier List.
This says all the sandwiches ranked, and burgers or sandwiches, fight me. And yeah, it's a whole shebang. Well, it's not all sandwiches. It's 28 of my select sandwiches, and yeah. So, anyways, hope you guys enjoy the video. It's a rather long one, and stay tuned for the SS tier sandwiches. You know, all that cool stuff, and I'll see you guys later. With that out of the way, we begin with our first set of sandwiches. These are the F tier sandwiches, and most of them I would not eat. There's, a few cases where I'd eat them. If I was starving, obviously I'd eat all of them, but these are the worst of the worst. And the first one is the grilled cottage cheese sandwich. This is just abysmal. Cottage cheese is disgusting, first of all. I think we can all agree on that. I don't know what to say on this one. It's just, there's no pros. This is the only one without any pros. It's just bad. It has bad textures. There's no meat in it. And this will be the format for all the slides. See rating, cons, pros. Well, normally you'd see pros, except for on this one, and then like the title and image and stuff. And keep in mind that the images could have been small, so when I enlarged them, it could have low quality. So sorry about that. But yeah, grilled cottage cheese sandwich, definitely the worst. F minus, 0.5 out of 10. Next sandwich is the Reuben. The Reuben has a problem with flavor for me. It has pretty good texture and would be a good sandwich, but the ingredients are just that's why I'd put it right almost at the bottom, is because every ingredient I'm just not a huge fan of. Corned beef is alright, okay? Not a huge con, but Swiss is like even worse. Reuben is just what breaks it for me. For some reason, I just despise the taste of Reuben. I don't know, other people probably don't, but just the Reuben sandwich in general is definitely a bad one for me, and I'd rate it a 2.5 out of 10. Next sandwich is spaghetti sandwich, and this is honestly debatably the opposite of the last one. It doesn't have super great texture, but that's not really on there. It has good flavor, like. It's not a bad combination of flavors, but there's no reason to make it. They're better separated. I'd rather have a bowl of spaghetti with, bread to like dip it in, whether that be breadsticks or whatever, and than this. There's no reason to make it. It's messy, and it can make the bun wet. It's just really not a pleasant experience, and there's absolutely no reason to ever make a spaghetti sandwich, is what I'm saying. It's just plain dumb. Next one is the Cuban, and Cuban has a similar story with the Reuben, where bread is good. I would agree. A lot of times it's flaky, it's nice. But Swiss, Swiss, as I said before, not a fan. Thankfully, no other sandwiches really always have Swiss, so that's good. And a lot of times Cuban has salami, which is probably my least favorite meat. So it may sound like I'm super picky, but I just put everything that I don't like at the bottom, as you can imagine. Most of the other ones, I'm like, oh, it's alright, there's a few bad flavors, but this is why I don't like the Cuban. The flavor is just bad. But it would be a good sandwich to have other, food, because it's a pretty generic, no, not generic, but it's pretty, has the same elements as other sandwiches. It's a basic sandwich. So that's why I rated this one a 4.5 out of 10. Alright guys, we made it to D tier. The most basic, the easiest, the simplest, the cheapest sandwich to make, PB&J, the classic peanut butter jelly. It's there. It's a PB&J. It's nothing really special. It's dry. As you can see, your mouth gets caked in peanut butter when you eat it. Gets sticky all over your mouth. Its taste is like mediocre. But the thing is I honestly, flavor-wise, I'd put it like pretty low, but the thing about it is I also take into account, cheapness. I take into account a lot more than just taste, texture, all that stuff, and it's so easy to make. It's you don't have to cut anything. It's extremely simple. So that's why I'd rate this one the most basic average score of a 5 out of 10, where it's all right. Next on the list is the BLT, and a lot of people would put the BLT higher on the list, but I don't know. My main issue is the bacon, and I'm not saying bacon is bad on a sandwich, and bacon is good, but it's a good meat. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily, but when it's just bacon on a sandwich, and that's the only protein on it, there's no cheese. I don't know. It's just not really that good. It can be really dry with a lot of bacon, especially if you don't have a lot of enough sauce, like mayonnaise, ranch, whatever, and it's pretty subpar flavor. Only thing that I'd give it is that usually has a good crunch with the bacon. It's usually like a good texture, all that good stuff, but it just can't really stack up against any of the other sandwiches higher. Next sandwich is the breakfast sandwich, and this is another thing where a lot of people probably would disagree with me. I'm just not a huge fan of breakfast food in general. I would much rather have, let's say if I went to McDonald's or whatever, I'd much rather have a burger at 9 a.m. in the morning than, a McMuffin or whatever. I'm just not a huge fan of that whole category of food, unless it's like biscuits and gravy or pancakes or something. But, breakfast sandwiches, whether it's usually fast food, which is also a turnoff for me because like most people don't, make English muffin sandwiches at their home. Sometimes they do, but at least I usually never. Egg, also another ingredient that I'm not a super huge fan of. I don't know, something about it. And also usually it's English muffin, which is like the most common breakfast sandwich ingredient or bread, and I don't know, I feel like it's really overrated. I would prefer croissants. If this was a croissant breakfast sandwich, I'd probably put it a fair amount higher. But breakfast sandwiches are traditionally English muffins or other forms of bread. Croissants are much better, and no one agrees with me on this, but I don't know. I'd much rather have a croissant. Only good thing about it is cheese, usually good, and I didn't have this on here, but usually the meat is good. Bacon on these kind of sandwiches is something that's works for me. Also ham, I like ham, and that's pretty good too. But that's about it. All I have to say with breakfast sandwich, I'd rate it about a 6.5 out of 10. Next sandwich is another controversial one for putting it down this low is the barbecue sandwich, and I hate going bottom to top because it sounds like I hate all food, but I don't know. It's hard to rate all the sandwiches. My issue with it is I'm not a huge fan of barbecue in general. So, whether it's ribs, whether it's just not the category of food. I'm just like breakfast. I'm probably low tier food if we're talking about food categories. So that's why and most of the flavor of a barbecue sandwich is obviously barbecue sauce, and barbecue sauce is all right for me. It's also really messy, which I also take into account, and I guess pulled pork is good. Pork is good. Pulled pork is better, and also it's a lot of meat. It's a lot of pulled pork. So it's good for that, but everything else kind of lacks behind it. Yeah, there you go. So that's why I'd have to rate it about a 6.8 out of 10. Next sandwich is the bologna sandwich, and some people might even put this lower than I had it. Pros about it, cheap. It's pretty easy to make. It's just another kind of like a PB&J, pretty generic sandwich. Cons, bologna, I guess I have to put out as a con, but I feel like it's underrated a little bit. A lot of people think it's disgusting. It's like Spam, but I'd say it's better than Spam. It's all right. I'd much rather have turkey, but it's still a good meat. And another con is you're never gonna get this at a restaurant. You're never gonna be like, "Yo, waiter, can I get a bologna sandwich?" That's not how food works. And usually, sometimes home cooked meals are worse than restaurants. And I'm not talking about Red Lobster, Red Robin or something. I'm talking about actual fancy restaurants. Most of the time, can't cook as good as them. But I don't mean to be, a lot of people are really good chefs. My parents are, but yeah. So that's what my two main gripes with the bologna, and that's why I'd have to rate about a 7.1 out of 10. Okay, sorry, so I forgot to mention that the bologna was the entrance to C tier. So now we're on C tier now. And C tier, next I'd probably have to say Sloppy Joe. It's really pretty easy to make. Just ground beef, ground turkey with like onion and stuff. You can make it all in one pan. It's makes a lot of it. It's a pretty simple dish to make. It's pretty messy, like a lot of sandwiches. And also the flavor isn't really that great. It's not an ideal flavor, you know. I don't know. It's probably nostalgic for a lot of people, you know, like fast food lunches and everything. But I don't know. Looking back at it, it's like an all right sandwich. It's all right. I'm never like craving it, so that's why I'd have to give it a 7.4 out of 10. Next is the Italian sandwich, which is debated. It's one of the worst sub sandwiches. It's all right. I mean, I would give it. It's very refreshing. Usually a lot of really water-filled things, lettuce, tomatoes. It's really I don't know. It's refreshing. And it usually has pepper and salami. Another two things that I don't really like that much. And it's also like a few other sandwiches really dry, which is I don't really like that much. So that's why I'd have to rate the Italian a 7.5 out of 10. The last sandwich in C tier is the tuna melt, and a lot of people hate tuna. I'm not one of those people, but I don't know. I like pickles. Pickles are great. With the pickles, it's a good crunch and taste, and just the texture combination is really good with the usually crunchy bread, like the soft tuna, and then like the cheese kind of melts over it, and sometimes tomatoes or lettuce gives another factor to it. It's pretty good combination of textures. Cons, its flavor isn't too good. It's one of the worst fishes in my opinion, and a lot of people dislike it, which is also an issue. But tuna melt, it's good, but not great. I'd give it a 7.8 out of 10. Now we're into B tier. B tier are sandwiches. Probably these are sandwiches that I would actually order at a restaurant. Like these are like borderline order. A and S I would like not always order, but like it's a very common order. But B tier is like yeah it's good. And meatball sub is the bottom of that, but it's a good combination of flavors. It's like the spaghetti sandwich, but just meatballs and bread by itself is not better. It's a good combo of flavors, and even better than the spaghetti because meatballs I really like. Another con is it's messy, just like the last time. And also, I've had really bad meatball subs, and that's just because of the meatballs. It's all dependent on the meatballs. Meatballs can be really cheap and bad, and that really shines in the meatball sub in the wrong way. I don't know. It's really dependent on the meatballs, and if the meatballs are bad, everything is bad. But if they're good, then it's good. So, and then also, just like other things can get the bread pretty wet, which is never a plus. That's why I'd have to rate this an 8 out of 10, which is the borderline B tier. Say that 10 times fast. Next sandwich is classic. This is the grilled cheese. Probably the easiest to get ingredients on the list. It's just cheese and bread. You don't even have to get peanut butter. It's so easy. Also, another good pro is it's great with other foods. With tomato soup, I'd maybe rank it A tier, but this is just the sandwich itself. But that is a pro that it goes good with other foods. Practically only tomato soup. I don't know, it might go good with other stuff. But cons, like a lot of things, it's very dry. And there's no meat, which if you put a little like slice of ham in between there, much better. But yeah, so that's my opinion on that. So rated an 8.1 out of 10. Next sandwich is the roast beef, and roast beef has good flavor. Roast beef I actually really like, and that's the only thing that carries this burger, and that's also a little bit of an issue. That's the only thing that's on the burger. That's why it's lacking in complexity. It's not very flavorful, but the roast beef is really good. So it's very dry, but the roast beef is good, which is a plus. So that's another tie with the last grilled cheese at an 8.1 out of 10. Next sandwich is the patty melt, and the patty melt it's like if no one knows what a patty melt is, just a burger patty on bread, normal bread. It's easier to make than a burger because more people have bread than buns. Especially if you like frozen burgers in your thing, you can just pop it on the grill with a piece of bread and it's good. It's also one of the cons about it is it's not usually available at restaurants. It's kind of like the bologna. Most people don't order patty melts at restaurants. It's just not really a thing. And kind of like cheeseburger to burger, it's just a downgrade. I have that higher up on the list, cheeseburger to burger, because I separate those. And patty melt is just kind of a worse burger. So that's why I'd have to rate it a fair amount lower than just if we're judging on flavor. Kind of like the spaghetti where the flavor is good, but just kind of why. So that's why I'd rate this an 8.25 out of 10. Next sandwich is the egg salad, and I know a lot of people who would rank this lower, but this is one of the only egg products that I really enjoy. It's easy to make, it's really healthy for you, and pickles. just like the ham melt, pickles make the difference for me. It's good flavor. The little bland in that. It's not super intuitive. It doesn't have cheese. It's a pretty good combo of meats. Pretty good combo of ingredients. And this is the start of A tier, and these are stuff that I would actually be starting to crave. This is rated an 8.3 out of 10. Good burger. Good sandwich. Like it. Yeah, that's about it for the egg salad. Next sandwich is the only Echo Fighter on the list. The reason I put it a little bit lower than the ham melt is it's a good recovery and it's more damage, but it's kind of unoriginal. It's an Echo Fighter. It's like Dark Pit and Pit, and it's much slower than ham melt, which is really an issue in the latest Smash game. So that's why I'd have to rate it a little bit lower at an 8.49 out of 10. And this is what we've been waiting for. Just mentioned it, ham melt, and this is the grilled cheese with the meat. It's good texture. It's nice crunch. It's just really good. Bread can sometimes become soggy, and quality of meat is usually low. Usually it's lunch meat. It's not super great meat, but just in general, the flavor is there, the texture is there. It's a good sandwich, and I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. At the end of A tier is the panini. The panini I actually had lower, and then I thought about it, and I was like, that's pretty good. Grilled, nice crisp, like a lot of things. There's a lot of different versions of panini. I was thinking of one version, and then I was like, oh, hey, there's a whole bunch of other versions. So, panini, good. One of the cons, it's relatively dry, and also it's not really that common in a lot of places. It's not like a, classic thing that's always on the menu. More common than bologna sandwich, but still, it's a little bit of a downgrade. And this is at the end of A tier at an 8.6 out of 10. Now we're entering S tier. This is some quality sandwiches. Not the best of the best, but really close. The bottom we have the torta. It's light and airy bun. It's usually spicy. It's a good flavor combination, and there's a lot of different varieties. It's usually messy, and sometimes with all the different varieties, it has some clashing flavors because there's not really like a set torta. As you can see, the picture is like hot dogs and beef, and I feel like that would clash a little bit. So it's a little bit of too much flavors sometimes. But overall, great sandwich. That's why I'd rate it an 8.8 out of 10. Next sandwich is the classic chicken sandwich. And I'm not talking about grilled sandwich. I'm saying crispy chicken sandwich. I'm talking about fried. It's good. It's really good. Mayonnaise. One thing for me that makes a chicken sandwich, to make it not dry, and they put it on a lot of things, mayonnaise or ranch or something, and I feel like that really makes a chicken sandwich is the amount of stuff you have on it, and it gives it like the kind of wet base that you want in a really crispy and dry meat. It's not really that common at high-end restaurants. Usually you'd order a grilled chicken sandwich or something else because, not a lot of high-end restaurants fry stuff because, they tend to be healthier and other stuff like that. And also, if it's a grilled chicken sandwich, I'd rate it like B tier. It's a fair amount worse when it's not fried. And debatably that goes with everything, but for me, it's one of the biggest differences between fried and unfried. So, here we have the generic burger, and this is a burger without the cheese. It's cheaper, and it's a good contender for taste, but just like the patty melt and other sandwiches I mentioned, it's just a downgrade. It's that, but with less flavor. So I couldn't rate it too high, even though the flavor is really good. And also, you have to specifically ask for it a lot of times. People don't usually have burger and then cheeseburger, unless they're charging more for the cheeseburger. But I don't know, that's why I'd have to say that. So I'd give this burger an 8.9 out of 10, almost entering the 9 zone. At the last S tier is the Gyro. The Gyro is fantastic. This is amazing. It's the Gyro meat, fantastic. It's really good. It's also a little bit healthier than other options. It's the bread. It all comes together really nicely. With some of the cons, it's messy. It's not really that common, and it has hard to find ingredients. That's like essentially all I can list for cons, but it's a really good sandwich, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't really had it, because it's not a super popular thing. It's mostly Greek restaurants, and you haven't been to one, you should definitely go. Gyros are great, and I'd put it at a 9.1 out of 10. There we go, guys. SS tier. This is the best of the best. This is fantastic sandwiches. And some of you may be laughing, but the ice cream sandwich is one of the best. It's great. It's cold, it's sweet, it's refreshing. I always want it. It's ice cream but better, essentially. A few pro and con is it's unlike other sandwiches where they can be really good, really bad. It just depends. Ice cream sandwiches, I've never tasted a bad or amazing ice cream sandwich. They're always good. There's no variation really between them. There's slight variation like it's of Oreo or whatever, but it's not that big of a difference. Also, chocolate tends to be sticky, which is really annoying. This has happened to me. This is like the only main gripe I have about the ice cream sandwich, but the flavor, it's amazing. And it's probably because I like ice cream, but that's why I'd have to rate it this high. And that's a 9.2 out of 10. Alright guys, top three sandwiches. This is the cheeseburger. This is everyone's favorite. It's easy to make. It's available almost everywhere, and it's cheap. Most of the time. It's a great cheeseburger. And similar to the ice cream sandwich, it usually isn't the perfect sandwich. It's really hard to meet the maximum potential of that sandwich. The cheeseburger, it's really hard to get like that perfect 10 out of 10, because a lot of these sandwiches could get a 10 out of 10, but I'd say the average cheeseburger is like a 9.5, and this is what I'd say for like all of these. I'm mostly saying the average rating, not what it could be. But the burger is great. The cheeseburger is the burger with cheese. That's it. But cheese makes a huge difference in a lot of foods, and the cheeseburger is just one of those examples that's just a great sandwich. And you never been like, oh, you want a cheeseburger? No, I'm fine. For me, it's always like, oh yeah, cheeseburger, yeah, sure. It's just so good. All right, guys, this is top 2, Philly cheesesteak. This is a fantastic sandwich. It's whoever created this genius. It's just great. It's steak on a sandwich is also a fantastic idea. The peppers, which I'm not peppers are alright. But for some reason on the Philly cheesesteak, they're not the same without the peppers and onions. It's the crisp and the flavor that all melts in with the cheese and the grilled onions. It's just so good. It's an unbelievable experience to have a Philly cheesesteak, and that sounds like cliche and stuff, but it's a great sandwich. It's also like a little pricey a lot of the times because it's steak. And also, sometimes if the steak isn't cooked well, it ruins the whole sandwich, similar to the meatball sub. If the steak isn't as like good quality, sometimes a Philly cheesesteak can just fall flat. But average rating 9.6, a great sandwich. Alright guys, you made it. This is the SS tier, the best of the best. This is the Meta Knight and Brawl. This is the French dip. It's something about it. It's so simple. It's like the roast beef, right? It's the roast beef sandwich. But it's everything that I dislike about the roast beef sandwich fixed. The moisture, the extra flavor, it's so good. It's the texture, it's great. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's just so good. And I've said it's a whole bunch, but forget about it. I'm not super good at pronouncing things. I'm gonna say au juice. Juice. Oh, whatever. The dip is something special about it. It's really good. And I feel like this maybe could even go well with other sandwiches. It's a great dip. Like that with the Philly cheesesteak might take number 1. But this is the only thing that really comes with it, the French dip. Again, like the Philly cheesesteak could also be a little bit pricier, and it doesn't have that much versatility. I feel like the Philly cheesesteak and the French dip are pretty similar in that if the Philly cheesesteak had the dip, then it would be number one. If the French dip had cheese, it'd be number one, or like cheese and like other stuff. So you could combine the two and make easily the best burger or sandwich. I mean, they're the same thing, but burgers are just beef and stuff. But that has to do it. Is the French dip a number one SS tier? Yeah, so if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe. It took a long time to make, and if you guys want to see other food tier lists, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, so if you guys enjoyed, stay tuned for other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.